Tachanka has been a part of the Rainbow Six Siege roster ever since the game's release back on December 1st, 2015. Upon the game's release, it became abundantly clear that Tachanka's gadget was going to need some improvements. At the time, his gadget was completely different than it is today. It was a mounted LMG called the RP46. This gadget was meant to act as a high-powered weapon that could be deployed around the map, and while on paper this may seem like a good idea, in practice, with one-shot headshots being a primary mechanic of this game, being stationary is never a good idea. In Siege, you always want to be moving, and this is what players began to realize. So naturally, players asked Ubisoft to buff him.
So as for gadget, I have given Tachanka a 3 out of 10. I think that his gadget sounds great on paper, sounds like it would be so much fun to use, but in reality, it's not all that practical.
However, other operators began to get buffs while Tachanka's problems were completely ignored, which led to him becoming the operator with the lowest pick rate in the entire game. Naturally, the community started to joke about how Ubisoft weren't giving him any meaningful buffs. This is when the Lord Tachanka meme was born. This came from the joke that picking Tachanka was basically asking to die. Videos like Return of Lord Tachanka, made by a YouTuber named The Tachanka, amassed close to 500,000 views, and Anthony Pitt's video Lord Tachanka would also blow up, getting close to 2 million views. Videos like this helped to spread the meme across the Siege community. Shortly after these videos were uploaded, memes picturing Tachanka as a god with captions similar to this one became extremely popular and began spreading across sites like Reddit. However, today, the Lord Tachanka meme is a shadow of its former self. So this begs the question, what happened to Tachanka? Well, this is somewhat of a long story. Tachanka would eventually get a buff in Operation Red Crow close to 1 year after launch. This buff came in the form of his face shield that was attached to the front of his LMG. The intention of this buff was to make his turret when playing behind a deployable shield more difficult for attackers to deal with. But this still didn't solve the problem of him needing to be stationary to use his gadget, which with destructible floors, it was easy to deal with a Tachanka behind a deployable shield. This update just made the Lord Tachanka meme even stronger because now Ubisoft had buffed him and he still wasn't good. Memes and YouTube videos about the Lord were being created and shared like wildfire. The memes started to spread outside of the Siege community, and gamers who had never even played Siege before knew about Tachanka's terrible state. The Lord Tachanka meme had spread so far that he had become the mascot of Siege. His unedited operator trailer sits at an astounding 800,000 views at the time of recording, which is just unheard of. Not to mention, players in casual would pick Tachanka and play the Russian national anthem in game chat all the time. So this either caused new players to start playing the game with the knowledge that Tachanka was a bad operator, or they learned the hard way. After his shield buff, Ubisoft would give him tiny buffs over the years that would never really solve his main issue. That would be until Ubisoft's second attempt in the form of his rework, released on November 17th, 2020. This rework would improve him with a whole new gadget and some major changes to his loadout. His new gadget was the Shemika launcher, which would allow him to function as an area denial operator, similar to smoke. When the launcher is used, a grenade is shot from the barrel of the launcher. These grenades will bounce off surfaces and then explode. Once the grenades explode, a small surface area of the floor will be lit on fire for a short duration. This forces attackers to wait for the fire to disperse before pushing into the site or into the room that the fire is located in. The loadout changes that came his way was the removal of the sausage shotgun for it to be replaced by the DP27 LMG. Yup, that's right, Tachanka could now carry his LMG around, which had the ability to make rotates and head holes with ease. All of this on paper seemed extremely strong, and like it would be an amazing way to make Tachanka better. While this did solve the problem of Tachanka needing to be stationary, this rework created whole new problems. First off, his LMG obviously makes him slow, and the ADS time is abysmal. It doesn't help that his LMG damage and fire rate don't make up for this. Right now, Tachanka's LMG is the worst DPS LMG in the game, and you can tell. Also, while his LMG can make rotates, it isn't really worth bringing over his SMG that just has a way better time to kill than the DP27. However, his loadout wasn't really the main issue with the rework. The main problem was his new gadget. The Shemika launcher requires you to put away your primary weapon to deploy it, which is never a good thing in Siege. This doesn't necessarily result in the gadget being bad, but it just entirely depends on the implementation, and in Tachanka's case, the implementation was pretty bad. His gadget can have 7 grenades loaded at any given time. These grenades can be shot in relative succession, but reloading is a completely different story. To reload his launcher, you must load it like a pump action shotgun and load each grenade one at a time, which leaves you vulnerable. On top of this, his fire doesn't stay on the ground long enough. They only last 7 seconds and they only cover a small area. Operators like Smoke and Goyo just simply outclass Tachanka. Goyo's canisters can be preemptively placed in common choke points and shot by defenders, causing fire to spread in a large area, which will cut off attackers from advancing. He has access to 4 of these, which is really strong. And on top of this, Goyo's fire lasts a whole 20 seconds, meaning that he can waste a total of 80 seconds in any given round. This is the longest out of any area denial operator and outclasses Tachanka by a landslide. Smoke has access to 3 gas canisters that can be thrown and remotely detonated like nitro cells. Once detonated, deadly smoke will begin to spread in the area where detonated. This smoke will remain in the area for 10 seconds, meaning that Smoke can waste a total of 30 seconds. So clearly these operators have a lot more going for them than Tachanka. Even after this rework, which was the biggest operator overhaul in Siege's history, Tachanka is still the defensive operator with the smallest pick rate in competitive. This was terrible news for Ubisoft, because not only did they fail at making Tachanka a competitively sound operator, but they had also killed the meme that had brought so many new players into the game, and that had fostered the Siege community for years. Nowadays, the Lord Tachanka meme is just a shadow of its former self. You never see new Lord Tachanka memes posted on Reddit or new YouTube videos making fun of Tachanka these days, and while people still call him the Lord, it just isn't the same. Maybe Ubisoft accomplished their goal. Maybe they wanted to kill the Lord Tachanka meme because of all of the bad press it brought their balancing team. Or maybe they just made another major balancing mishap once again, turning one of the most fun casual operators to play into a boring, underpowered mess. I don't think I'll ever understand this move, but I guess you can say that they changed Tachanka so much that they killed him. Ubisoft has shown signs of wanting to fix him, however, the most recent buff being him getting the Bearing 9 as a secondary weapon. So we'll have to see if Tachanka can make a recovery. However, considering Ubisoft's treatment of him in the past and just their balancing track record, I don't see him improving that drastically. Anyways, hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you did, I would appreciate it if you could consider subscribing. I'm trying to hit 3K by the end of the year, and your sub will put a dent in that number. If I haven't earned your sub yet, hopefully one of these videos will. I'll see you next time, friends, and peace.